Everybody, thank you so much for joining me once again. So for today's tutorial, we are going to look at in my opinion, a very challenging move, the one-arm active hanging leg raise. Quite impressive, very challenging. Again, so even if we don't ever get to this move or we have no desire to even do this, the journey in getting there has many, many benefits, right? So I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different progressions on how to get there. I'll show you in just a moment exactly what it is that we're even talking about. But any of these progressions that you work is going to have a lot of really good benefits. So again, if we ever get there one day, great. If not, it doesn't matter. The process of us working towards this particular goal will again have many benefits for the shoulders, for compression, and a lot of different things. So first, what is and I hope I'm saying this correct, but so many words, what does a one-arm active hanging leg raise look like? So what are we even talking about? Well, I would reach up, try to grab the bar. I'm going to then kind of switch here to one hand. So this is my passive hang. I'm going to try to lift up into an active hang. I would release with one hand, and I would try have the feet tap toes, carefully coming back down. So a one-arm hang, active leg raise, toes touching hands. Very challenging stuff, but let's break it down. So when it comes to this move in particular, like many of the moves, I would say let's break it down into small pieces. I would not say that reaching up there, jumping, grabbing onto the bar, and just seeing how high you can get your legs and just keep doing that over time. Will you get there? Maybe someday. I don't think personally that's the most efficient approach, which is again why we're going to break it down into pieces. So that's what we'll look at today. If you notice already too, I did chalk up my hands a little bit whenever doing some hanging work. Chalk is helpful, so if you want to chalk up, also feel free. Otherwise, no worries. So first thing is we want to get really strong at the two-arm active hang. All right, that's number one. So I would jump up there. I'm going to try and grab with two hands. And we do have a hanging tutorial, but as a quick review, I'm not trying to really promote the passive hang, and here I'm trying to promote the active hang. So without bending my elbows, I'm going to try to pull the bar to the ground, and I want to be able to get comfortable here for 60-second holds, pulling the bar to the ground. And again, look at the distance between my ears and my shoulders. There's space there between my ears and my shoulders, whereas in our passive hang, you can see that they're almost touching. So again, we want to get really strong at the two-arm hang. We should be able to be consistent at 60 seconds with the two-arm active hang. Then we will start, because we need that just for the shoulder structure, right? That's going to strengthen the shoulders. We have to have that foundation first. Do not skip this step. All right, where we can progress from there. Active hanging leg raises. All right, a lot of benefits in this in general, but again, focus on the two-arm hang first, then work on pulling the knees into the chest. We're going to kind of break this down into three different sections, each being progressively a little bit more challenging. The first one, we're just going to simply try to tuck the knees into the chest, lower the legs down for a tucked active hanging leg raise. We'll then see if we can lift the legs up, and then maybe someday extend the feet out in front of us. Much more challenging. Our third variation that we'll look at is trying to lift the lower back up into the start of a tucked lever position. All right, we'll see these three in a moment. First thing, I'll reach up. I'm going to try and grab a two-hand active hang to start. All right, so I'm going to pull the bar to the ground, active in the shoulders. My legs are together. I'm going to pull my knees into my chest, pause, slowly lower the legs back down in front of you. If you try to do it like this, you're going to sway. So over time, we'll have the strength in the shoulders to stop the sway from happening. We just try to pull the knees up, pause, and then again the legs extend in front of you. When you start getting strong and proficient there with the knees really tucked in, see if you can pause, maybe extend the legs out, bend the knees, lower back down into a active hang. So again, we tuck, pause, then work over time to extend, and then the legs come down in front. So work there for quite some time, knees tucking into the chest. What mentioned a moment ago is our third variation of that hanging leg raise, is that over time we want to build up enough strength in the upper body and the ability to compress enough so that the glutes can start to lift up, maybe so much that someday we're in a tucked, what's called a tucked lever position, and I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. This is going to give us, in my opinion, I would say even more upper body strength than we need for what we're moving towards, although with the one arm that's not necessarily true, but we're going to really build a good amount of upper strength when we can start lifting the glutes up from there into that tucked hold. We'll stop if we can get the back parallel to the floor. We'll lower the legs back down, and again we'll just kind of count those repetitions. So the first two steps, get really proficient at those before advancing to this third step. I'll reach up, active hang, pull the bar to the ground. It's going to start with a tucked leg raise. You're going to keep trying to pull the bar to the ground, pull the bar to the ground, try to tuck and come all the way down. 1, active hang, tuck, keep tucking, keep tucking. 2. So we tuck, the butt starts to lift up, stop it parallel, untuck, lower down. That is going to be quite challenging for many. For some, who knows, all right? But that, again, is going to give us even more upper body strength than we're looking for, at least for the 2 legs going up. When it comes to one arm, it's a whole nother beast, all right? But little by little, you've seen that we've just been breaking down the 2-arm active hang, trying to lift up, getting really, really strong so that it's a lot more pressure just when we start doing these raises. It's a lot more required out of the shoulders, and you're going to feel that strength that's required and needed to start to kind of lift the hips up too. So again, really building the strength in the upper body to stabilize the upper body as the lower body's trying to lift up. Spend time there. How much time? I don't know. Maybe quite a bit of time. Just depends, obviously, on our starting point. So now we will take a look. This is where, in my opinion, people fall short. All right? People want to do what we're showing here today, but they're never willing to kind of take a different approach and work on its own the compression aspect that is so important. So working towards this goal that is a hanging goal, we really, really want to work on the compression aspects separately. So we definitely have compression drills on this Patreon account as well, but we're kind of seeing now how we can take some of these different drills, the hanging work, the compression work, and then how they kind of merge together eventually over time. So we'll show you about 3 variations of how we can work these compression with the legs. And I'm going to try for today to keep everything here in front of me, not necessarily needing to split the legs out for today. So I'm going to place my palms down in front of me. I'm going to try to keep my spine really, really straight, and I'll point the right foot. I'm just going to try 10 single leg raises. So I would lift the leg up, heel taps down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We would then try 10 on left leg, pointing through the left toes. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. This starts the process of bringing upper and lower body closer together, definitely needed in what we're trying to do. That was single leg, one at a time. We can then try both legs at the same time. So I would plant my fingertips down, point the toes, and create tension in your legs. So quad muscles engage, point the toes, calves engage, and we're just going to try to have the the legs lift up towards the chest. And again, we'll try about 10 repetitions. So when you're ready, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The key here with this compression work, it's about getting the upper and lower body closer together. Try not to lean back like this to perform your leg lifts. The upper and lower body are not that close together. You will be able to get the legs higher, much higher, when you lean back, but it is about decreasing this angle and getting really, really strong in your ability to bring your upper and lower body closer together. It's very different, these two things, if I just fold, right? Gravity is helping push me down. Much more challenging to try to lift and hold my legs up. So we're working on the strength to bring our upper and lower body closer together. We'll talk about that a little further in just a moment. So we just performed the leg lifts 2 at a time. If you're familiar with our yoga practice, there is a pose called Navasana pose that is kind of holding that top position. So the goal in Navasana, and if you want to end your 10 leg lifts and try to hold at the top, obviously it's going to be very challenging if you've just done 10 leg lifts, but we would indeed try to hold the top portion and just hold for time. So we keep the fingertips down. We try to get the chest and the legs as close together. Stay here, proud chest. Don't collapse in. Proud chest, and just try to lift the legs and hold and hold and hold. And just see, pointing, how close you can get, again, your upper and lower body closer together, closer together. So we take that, again, Navasana pose, or just think of it as holding that, maybe that last rep of your leg lifts. So that is very important. If you want to start doing this, we have to work the compression again separately. So I'm doing everything needed here for the lower body, right? I'm not doing the hang right now. So that will add in again as we work those other drills that we just looked at a moment ago. Now, after we've gotten really, really good at this, again, compression work, we can now go back to the hanging and see if we can start to find a merge between these two approaches. So the next approach we want is to get very, very, very strong at the one arm active hang on its own. All right. Again, we did talk about this in our hanging tutorial, but as a quick review, when it comes to the one arm hang, we want to try to pull the same as the two, pull the shoulder down and away from the ear. So as a result, the scapula depresses and gets pulled down. And you can absolutely, in the beginning, use something to help assist you. All right. Perhaps it's a strap. Perhaps it's 2 fingers that are up there. Let's demonstrate and show you the 2 versions. So I'll reach up. I'm going to grab the bar with my left hand. I'll start in a 2-arm active hang. So I'm going to pull the bar to the ground. My weight's going to really shift and focus on the left now. And I can just come to 2 fingertips on my right hand. So my left hand's doing most of the work. But now when I pull down, I'm pretty darn even here. I don't want to kind of be here in like a half of a one-arm hang active. I want to really pull the bar to the ground. This is another approach. You can always kind of hold on to a strap or something like this. So again, actually also even like a partner shoulder. Maybe not COVID time, but normally you can just kind of pull down, have your hand there. So something that helps support you. Again, we talked about that in the hanging tutorials. But when we do the one-arm active hang, we do want to try to be even with the shoulders, not kind of like this in like a quasi kind of one-arm hang. So please use the assistance to really get very, very strong and proficient now again at your one-arm hang. I would, again, spend time there. You want to get strong there. Don't do too much too soon. Hanging from one arm active for time, challenging stuff. All right. So again, work the one arm active hang as well. So now we've done the hanging work. We've looked at lifting the legs up and then even looking at that lever position. So we should have now a good amount of hanging strength in the upper body. Also, we should have this ability to really be able to get compressed. So before we move forward, it's hard to say that like hamstring flexibility has nothing to do with it. It has a good amount to do with it. Many times I'll see people lifting legs and they're just bent legs. And it looks like their hamstrings are just trying to pull them back down to earth because it's just that flexibility in the hamstrings just isn't there. So absolutely it does play a role. And then something else interesting that I kind of just want you to see. And I believe the other tutorials here is the Jefferson curl. If you're unfamiliar with the Jefferson curl, please try to find that in our tutorials. Otherwise, if you just type in on YouTube Jefferson curl, you'll have a bunch of things that come up. But I want you to see the shape of my body when I perform a Jefferson curl and the shape of my body when I perform a two-leg active leg raise. All right, we're pretty much going to find the body in the exact same shape, but these are completely different sensations, completely different. So I just want to show you the shape my body makes when I do a two-leg active hang. So look at my body shape here, all right, at the top, and then look at my body shape when I perform when I'm at the bottom of a Jefferson curl. All right. So from this position, this is pretty much the same shape, except my hands, instead of holding on to a kettlebell, were holding on to that bar. I was flipped upside down, and my feet were fighting gravity to get lifted up to where my hands were on the bar. So the Jefferson curl will allow you nice hamstring flexibility. We'll learn the rounding of the spine. And again, we're in that same shape. And then compression, getting the upper and lower body closer together. But the huge difference, that is, you feel it immediately, is does not require the strength that the active hanging leg raise does. They're very similar in the shape, very different in the feel. One, again, the feet are being pulled up against gravity. Here, the upper body is using gravity as help to bring it down. So here we're fighting gravity. Here we're using gravity. And in fact, we even use weight to help even further to bring the upper body down. So the Jefferson curl will help elements of this as well. It'll help hamstring flexibility, we'll work some compression, get the body and the spine used to rounding. So that's all those things are in this, but this is not going to give you the strength required. The compression work that we did on the floor and the hanging work, those two things on their own will give us the strength. I do think, though, the Jefferson curl, I did want to mention that in the fact that same shape and hamstring openness. Okay. Let's keep things moving. So now we've spent a good amount of time, I don't know, maybe months, probably realistically months, to get really proficient at those things. So now we will look at the two-leg active hanging leg raise, right? So, or I'm sorry, two hands. So we're going to have both hands. This is what I just demonstrated. And we're going to do our best to keep our legs straight. We're going to try to have the feet come all the way up and touch the hands. Initially, you might get halfway, 3/4 of the way. But if you continue to do all that other work little by little, your feet should be able to start lifting higher and higher up towards the hands. So this is how a two-hand active straight leg raise would look. We'll try about maybe 4 repetitions. So I'll reach up, try to grab on. All right, I'm going to be active. Zip everything up. Toes to hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, initially, we come up halfway, 3/4 of the way, maybe not quite there yet. That is going to be very challenging to do right off the bat if you have never done The compression work, if you've never done hanging work, I'm going to say I don't know how we would be able to kind of achieve this. It takes time. Most of the time what you'll see is, again, half leg lifts or hamstrings that are a little tighter, trying to lift the legs. So again, work on all those other regressions before progressing into what you just saw. Now, that is the thing with two hands. It's the exact same thing we're trying to accomplish with one hand. One hand, a lot more strength now will be required. So again, in the same way that in our active hang, when we went to a one-arm active hang, we used something for assistance, I would highly recommend you use some assistance here as well. When it comes to this one, I don't prefer to go to fingertips on the opposite hand. I prefer to use something like so, but that is totally up to you. All right, so I'm going to try and jump up there. I'm going to grab the bar with my left hand. I'm going to use this as assistance. And actually, you know what? In fact, even better would be to just focus first on a negative. So perhaps it looks like this. We start off with two hands. Try to pull the bar to the ground. I'm in my one-arm hang now. I use this as assistance. I'm sorry, this is what I meant to say. I'm jumping ahead of myself. That's the next one. We start in a two-arm. We lift up. I try to lift the legs up. And then from here, get light in fingertips and perhaps just work on the negative with one leg. I grab the bar with two arms. I lift up. Go to fingertips. A slow negative. So always looking to work the negative prior to the real thing. So when we get to the point where we can lift two legs up at once, then maybe you just get, and it did not really feel comfortable to even go onto fingertips. It was more about shifting the weight into the left hand and pulling much harder with the left hand, getting a light in the right hand. The shifting to fingertips doesn't really feel so good. So just getting a light in one hand, shifting the weight, and trying to perform a negative. Feet are up there already. Both feet come down. One arm does a lot more of the work. Now we'll use this. So this is what I started to show you a moment ago. So now we'll work on the positive, the way up, and on the way down. But again, using something to grab and to pull on will help. All right? So I'm going to reach up there with just left hand. Whoop. All right. Active hang. Pull the bar to the ground. Going to use this as my support. I'm going to pull this right hand and this strap to the ground. And I try to lift up and down. And you can see there's a good amount of weight here. As you get stronger in time, the hand can go down the strap, up, and down. The further down your hand goes, the less you'll be able to use it to help stabilize you. Start with the hand higher initially, slowly then lower the hand down little by little. So there are a lot of components there of things to work on. But as we said again in the beginning, all those things on their own are fantastic. So if we just start the process of hanging work, active hanging leg raises, tucked, saw the other thing, how it starts to bring us into the front lever position. If you're not familiar with the lever, no worries. If you want to check that one out on YouTube, feel free. But building upper body strength, hanging, great for pulling strength, grip strength, all of those things. And then obviously our compression work, which also takes us into the direction of maybe press handstands someday, or a lot of other things that we can do with compression work. So a lot of times this stuff on its own looks like one thing, but we start to see the similarities. And again, this idea of seeing something, can we break it down into smaller, chewable pieces so that we're not just trying to do the whole thing all in one shot? This is what we call having a process behind what you do. It's very, very important, especially with these more complicated movements, to have a process. All right? Thank you guys so much for joining me. Questions, as always, feel free. Otherwise, just on this journey, just healthy shoulders, more strength here and compression, hip flexors, core, lots of benefits. Give it a shot. I'd like to see how we do. Feel free again to reach out with questions or whatever we got going on. All right. Thank you, guys. Until next time, peace. Namaste. Have a great one. Catch you on the flip side.